Thanks everyone. Pat Cummins, Australian Captain here to answer your questions. We'll better start with Mel.
Well, Pat, I'm sure you've walked past it a few times. What does the pitch look like today? What are your thoughts?
I actually haven't. I walked back on the way past, sorry. So I don't really have much for you other than I checked 2 days ago. It looked pretty firm. Looks like there's a bit of coverage of grass on there, but yeah, I'll go and have a good look after this.
Pat, when you reflect on Edgbaston, from a tactical point of view, are you happy with how you approach the match? Is there anything you learnt from it? And any changes you think you may make going into this test?
Look back, I was really proud of how we stuck at it. I thought we always felt like we had some control on the match, even when the run rate was quite high. To have them 5 for 170 or 5 for 180 both innings, I think showed that we did a lot of things right. So I think any changes this game would be just kind of the feel of what we get out of the wicket, what the conditions are like. Whether you kind of have an extra few catches in and really want to attack, or whether it's we get the feel that we just need to soak up a bit of pressure.
Pat, England have gone in loaded up with seamers. They've got a fourth one. You've got a specialist spinner for the 100th test in a row, I gather. Could you imagine going in without a specialist spinner, and particularly on that surface, however it may look? I said it yesterday. I think it's a testament not only to how good Nath is, but in terms of longevity and fitness and form, but to be able to play 100 tests means you're getting picked in all conditions. So I know at the start of his career you talk about 4 quicks at the Gabba, but he's just so valuable to our team that I couldn't imagine a side without Nath in there. So I've seen they've gone with 4 quicks, which is probably as we expected after seeing kind of Moeen's injury last week. But I feel really lucky we've got Nath.
But saw some of the English batters actually batting with a deep point in their mind, just virtually setting a deep point every time they face the throwdown. So Ben Stokes' captaincy seems to be based around the expecting the unexpected. You think you could throw in a few surprises as well, like not have the deep point, for example, just they're expecting it?
Could do. I mean, surprises just for the sake of surprise isn't probably my go-to. We always have different fields that we bounce around. You even saw last week in the second innings particularly, we got a bit funkier with some of the fields. So, we'll see. Hopefully the ball swings, and even if the field stays the same, you can try around the wicket, over the wicket, in swingers, out swingers. You can, nothing has to be really consistent.
Pat, you mentioned the other day that your bowling workloads weren't massive in that first test, but is there any question mark over asking Josh to back up again early in his comeback after his injury problems?
It was something we were conscious of last week, but I think he only bowled 25 overs. Even having a day in between the first innings and second innings is always nice for a bowler. And then we've had 6 or 7 days leading to this, so there's no injury concerns there. See how this one goes. The gap between this, Lords and Leeds is a bit tighter, so I think that might be more of a conversation next week.
Did you want a question, sir? Yeah, we'll take them on.
Yeah. Hello, Pat. Just on Nathan, he's 5 shy of 500 wickets. Heck of a place to do it here, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. 100th consecutive Test match, 500 Test wickets. It's incredible, just all the milestones he keeps ticking off. This has been a really special place it's a really special place in cricket, but for Australia as well, we've had some success over here at this ground over the recent years. So, be one for the memory bank.
Pat, have you seen much of Josh Tongue? Have you got a feel for what he's like as a bowler?
Not a heap. He obviously played against Ireland here a few weeks ago, so might have a bit of a look at the footage tonight. I know a lot of the batters have done their homework on all their guys, so I don't think there'll be too many surprises.
Did Steve mention him at all? I think he got him out in the championship. Slightly high LBW, possibly.
I didn't know he was bowling. I definitely heard that there was a couple of LBWs that Smithy didn't totally agree with.
Pat, you may be aware of the reports into discrimination in English cricket that's come out this morning. I fully appreciate you won't have read the full thing, but I just wondered your reflections on where you think the game, or what you'd like the game to look like worldwide in Australia, and everything really on the back of that.
Yeah, I haven't had a read of the report. I heard it was being released today. Look, I think I've been playing for 12 years now. I think we're all a little bit probably better than we were 12 years ago. I think everyone's thinks about how they act probably a bit more than they did 12 years ago. So, I think it's just a continual learning process. It's something we try and be really open-minded about. I love that we've got some real diversity in our team. I think it's a real strength of ours, really celebrating everyone's individuality. And I just hope anyone that walks into our dressing room or into Australian cricket, whether they're playing or at a ground, just feels like they're welcome and appreciated and respected. So,
Pat, can I just ask quickly, have you got an 11 for us at all?
I've got a 12, so same team as last week, plus Starkey comes in, so we'll have another look at the wicket and work out the final 11 tomorrow.
Gotcha, thanks. Just on the way you guys are playing, obviously there's been a lot of emotion. I know you've been asked yesterday about the sledging that went on and the greats talking, but even just, I guess, with the emotion that England are playing with, do you think 4 or 5 years ago this Australian side could have stayed as level-headed through it all and not bit back and not sort of bought into the drama like you have been able to avoid in the past week or two?
Potentially not. And I think there's many factors that go into that. I think everyone just about in our team's now married with kids or well into their career, and I think a bit more comfortable in their own skin. I think 5 years ago we all, the Australian cricket was really, you meant to play tough and get in the face of the opposition and throw your arms about and things like that, whereas I think you've seen our team pretty mellow over the last few years, and I think that reflects just our individual personalities. So no doubt there'll be moments where people want to get in a scrap and a fight and a tit for tat, but at the moment everyone's pretty relaxed and we're all pretty comfortable just being us and going about it our way.
Yeah, Pat, you touched on it earlier about Lords being a special place to play cricket. What does it mean to you and the team and the thought of getting on that honours board?
Yeah, well, for me, I came and visited Lords with my family, I think when I was 13, 14, in 2007 it would have been. And it's, ground you hear about all the time. It's like Augusta for golf or Wimbledon, in tennis. And just the kind of weird, nuances of having a slope on the ground, the media box. We've seen a million games on TV or seen it talked about. So to be here, it's really special. Like playing Test cricket, I think what makes it really special is the history behind it, the baggy green, the players that have played before you. And I think when you come to places like this, it just really hits home that it's a Test match this week, but it's a long line of history that we're being involved with.
Hey Pat, obviously this series has been in the calendar for a long time. There's a lot of hype around it. The Australian team has planned very carefully for it. Are you surprised that England haven't been able to get Mark Wood into the team for either of the first two tests, particularly given how well he performed 21-22 in Australia?
I've got no idea how anything about kind of his fitness in the last few months or anything like that. So it's probably not right for me to comment, but I know how much work our team's put into making sure that, say, someone like a Joshy Hazlewood, he's had a few injury worries, but this has been the one that, over the last 6 months, everything was to make sure he was going to be, we'll give him the best chance as possible to be right for this series. So I think it's really rare to have a full squad that's fit, and we're in a really lucky position, and some of that's probably luck, but I think a lot of that's also an incredible support team who you only really hear about when things go wrong, but they've been fantastic to get everyone fit.
And can you just quickly, I suppose, cast your mind back to, there was a time quite a few years ago when obviously you were having your injuries, and it seemed like didn't a day go past without a story about Australia's fast bowling injury issues, and that just seems to have almost disappeared off the radar. Just an insight into that work and I suppose the education to you guys as well about how to do it.
We've certainly got a lot more info over the years. I think probably the biggest difference is that we're all in our late 20s or early 30s. Joshy, Mitch Stark, James Pattinson, myself, we all kind of came onto the scene late teens, early 20s, where you're at your most risk. But to be able to manage through that and kind of reap the rewards now, later on in our career, has been huge. And just the amount of time and effort and investment put into sports science in Australia has been, phenomenal, really. We're in such a lucky position that for 5 years I didn't play, but I got the best support I could. Hopefully it's not just helped kind of us, but any cricket around the world. I know India have come a long way. I'm sure every country's come a long way in how they manage fast bowlers, and I think injuries are just going to be less common than they were.
We've got Dan over here and a couple we'll finish up with Dan.
Thanks, Pat. What are the factors with the pitch when you make this final decision on the 11 that are going to sway it either way, that either help Mitch, I suppose, enter the team, or Scott keeps his spot, or I suppose Josh as well?
To be honest, probably not a lot. We'll have another look, but I think we're pretty sure in which way we want to go. We just want to make sure that we kind of cover it all off, and we've got a bit of time. So have a look at the wicket, get a bit of a sense of what the weather's going to be like. But I probably won't change too much, to be honest.
You're not going to tell us which way you're leaning?
Not at the moment, no.
Pat, I thought it was really interesting what you were saying about the kind of broadening of minds over the last 12 years, and hopefully we've seen that throughout cricket. I guess we grew up here thinking there's an Australian mentality towards sport and towards cricket. I wonder if you found perhaps the secret of captaincy is managing different personalities differently within the dressing room, within the environment.
I think that's where the biggest gains are had. You talk about technique and working the nets. I think if you get 11 players who are all comfortable in their own skin and going about it their own way, and you take away a lot of the inhibitions, that's where the biggest gains are had, I think, in a cricket team. It also makes it a lot more fun. I mean, if we had 11 guys exactly the same, it'd be pretty boring. So I love the different personalities we have in the team. Open-mindedness, you get different ideas. Everyone sees the game a little bit differently. So, it's been a real strength of ours, and I think it does make it easier when you've got people in their 30s who, they've been doing this for a fair while, and they know who they are a bit more than maybe when we were all 18, 19, 20.
Thank you. Passing it back to behind you, Brad.
But after the emotional high of Edgbaston, how do you kind of reset yourself again for this test? And have you spent the past week?
In some ways, it's been good to have a bit of a breather, and in other ways, like many of the fans, I'm sure we just can't wait for the second Test match. So it's been quite low key the last week. Most of the family's arrived, so I spent a lot of time chasing my 20-month-year-old son around different parks, from Regents to Primrose and back to Regents, and that's how I spent most of my days. So it's been pretty relaxed. We're, it's 1-0 up in the series. It's a 5-match series, so we're all on a bit of a high. But no, there's plenty of work still to do.
Do you not mind passing the last one?
Hi, Pat. It was obviously a really good win at Edgbaston, but you did so without Marnus and Smithy getting big runs. Is there kind of feeling going into this week that you guys can be even better and go up another notch?
I hope so. I don't think we played the complete game last week by a long shot. I think that's one of the most pleasing things is we weren't at our best but still managed to get over the line. That's not always going to be the case. History would suggest Marnus and Smithy rarely miss out. So I'm expecting a big week from them. Same with the other guys that maybe didn't have their best week. Yeah.
All good. Thanks.
Thank you. Ta.
Chat.